Hello students, we need to know where things are located in the art room. So I'm going to take you through a quick tour just so you know where things are. The art room is an open studio, which means you can get materials as needed. You do not need to ask, and I encourage you to open up cabinets and find what you need for yourself. All right, let's start over by the sink. If you walk towards the sink, this is where you will find lots of different colors of washi tape for decorating your sketchbook. This is also where you will find any sort of adhesive, glue, tape, hot glue gun, and scissors. If you open up the cabinet right below, you'll see a variety of things. There are some extra supplies. There is also any sort of fiber art supplies, such as string and embroidery floss. You will also find extra markers, and you will find different colors of ink that you may use. Right. If we move along from that area, these are obviously the sinks. If you need to rinse out anything like paint or paint brushes, this is where you will go, and paper towels are obviously right in that container right there. If you continue over here by the windows, you will find extra paintbrushes. You do have paintbrushes in your art kit, but maybe you need a different size or a bigger size. This is where you will find overflow paintbrushes. And if you go right below the paintbrushes, you'll find watercolor refills, which you won't really need to get into. There's some texture makers for paint, toothbrushes you can use for like splattering paint, and palette knives are also in here for mixing paint. All right, continuing through the room, we're at the windows here. There's some cabinets in the back corner that says printmaking. You will not need to access those cabinets right at this moment. Over here though, at the back windows, there's lots of fun things that you can look through. All of these drawers are labeled. So, if you're looking for some cardboard, if you're looking for some certain types of paper, they can be found in these drawers. I encourage you to get what you need and then turn around and use the paper cutters if you need a different size of paper. Okay. Over here along the back windows, you will find fabrics, different types of papers, tissue paper, construction papers. Here's a whole tub full of magazine pictures, old books that you can use for collaging. This is a container where I just throw a bunch of junk for like recycled art. And if you come back here, let me move the fan. In this cabinet, you'll find yarns, strings, little tiny mosaic papers. And if you continue over, we have felt, scrapbooking papers, all a bunch of assortments of papers. So I encourage you to open drawers and please help yourself. As we continue around the room, down here on the floor, there's some crafty items that you might be interested in, such as ribbon, googly eyes. If that interests you, this is where you can find those things. Let's keep walking here. This is where you can find all things paint related. Tempera paint is up at the top. Acrylic paint is down at the bottom. You'll also find spray bottles here, and you'll also find different kinds of mediums. We'll talk about that in a second. Okay. Down here at the bottom, if you're looking for watercolor, here's watercolor pencils, and here's big trays of watercolor in these palettes that you may also access. As you walk around to the front of the room, this is where you can find all your drawing supplies. Okay. You do have stuff in your art kit, but if there's something that you don't have that you need, such as charcoal, circle makers, pencil sharpeners, they can all be found right here at this front table. If you're looking for colored material, such as markers and colored pencils, they can be found right up here in the center of the room. Okay. Pastels and oil pastels are on the bottom shelf. All I ask is that you put things back where you got them, especially the colored pencil. There's no greater pet peeve I have than when I find a blue pencil in the orange section. Do not be that person. And if we pivot from the front of the room straight back, we're going back to where the paper cutters were. This is where you can find things such as rulers, you can find X-Acto knives, and you can find cutting mats back here. Okay, in a moment we're going to be learning about our first assignment of the year, which is going to be decorating our sketchbook cover. But before we do this, I want to make sure you understand how to access all of the materials. So for example, if you would like to use paint, And paint might be a good idea. Maybe you want to cover this whole thing with a color and just get rid of all that text on there. In order to access paint, you're going to need to grab yourself something called palette paper. This is where you're going to put the paint. So go ahead, tear a sheet off, and you're going to go ahead and get the colors of paint that you would like. Okay? You need to get about a dime-sized amount of paint. That is it. You can always come back and get more, but I don't want to see blobs and mountains of paint. It is wasteful. You will not use it all, and then it just goes in the garbage at the end of the class because this paint dries relatively quickly. Okay? So a dime-sized amount of paint is all that you need to get started. Perhaps you want to mix 2 colors of paint together, which is fine. There is something called a palette knife sitting over by the sink with the extra brushes that you can use for mixing paint. So let's say I wanted to create an orangey red color. I can go ahead and use my palette knife to mix the colors together. I would avoid doing that with your brush. Not only is it going to get the different colors mixed within your bristles, there's a good chance you'll ruin your brush that way. Okay? So that is what you'll use to mix paint if you would like to mix 2 colors or more together. Okay? Also, over by the sink, you can find old water cups, which is great for putting your tools in and cleaning out your brush. At the end of the period, you'll just go ahead and fold up your old paint paper, throw it in the trash can, and dispose it. A very popular method for decorating the sketchbook is collage. Collage is just putting other types of paper or your own drawings onto this sketchbook. In order to do that, you're going to need to grab something called either matte medium or gel medium. They are located over by the paint, and they are essentially the same thing. The matte will dry with a flat finish, and the gel medium will dry with a glossy finish. So you'll need to decide which finish suits you best. I'm going to go with the gel. You're going to go ahead and take the lid off, and you apply this with a paintbrush. It's similar to Mod Podge if you've ever used that before. And all you're going to do is you're going to take a clean paintbrush, the one that's in your art kit. You're going to go ahead and get some on the brush, and you're going to go ahead and apply it where you want to put whatever it is you're putting onto your sketchbook. Okay? You're going to go ahead and lay it down into it, and then you're going to apply a coat on top. So it's like a sandwich. There's a layer of gel medium underneath, and there is a layer on top, which will get it nice and flat and adhere to your sketchbook. Just note that this does look white, but it will definitely dry clear. And last but not least, we need to make sure that we take care of the art materials in the room. Okay? The brushes that you were given in your art kit and the brushes that you may have borrowed from me need to be rinsed out in the sink. Okay? You'll turn the sink on, and you make sure that you take the bristles of the brush and actually touch them with your hand. You can also use this over here, which is great. This is like a paint soap. You just kind of swirl the brush in there. It's like a hair conditioner for your brush. Okay. Make sure the water runs clear. That way you know all the paint or gel medium has come out of your brush. When you are finished, you either need to put your brushes back where you got them. Okay. If I got them here in the oversupply, or if it's my own brush from my kit, I need to make sure that I dry it and put it back in my kit. Do not put the brush from your kit back here. Okay, that brush stays with you for the entire year. Okay, so I hope that you got a good tour of the art room. You at least understand where everything is located, and you have some basic instructions on how to use some of the supplies. I realize that you did not get formal instructions on everything, but this first project is just intended to get you to move around the classroom, find out where things are, and do some experimentations with the materials.